You guys hear me?
In their yard. Some people. So we were in their yard for over 2 months. And it was a joke. We were drenched all the time because it was. So I like Charlotte.
Okay, it is recording now. There you are. Well, can you hear me?
We're still waiting for Ken.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay,
Stand to get started also. So just let
We're waiting for who?
Ken.
We're waiting for Ken still.
I showed it to 7 last time. That time, but they did. I guess his kid forgot again.
When he's coming.
First, he's facilitating it, so we kind of have to.
That's 5 minutes. How long is this?
Right. One's 3 and one's 5.
3.
We have another one in there that's annoying. It's just.
That's a what?
It's annoying.
Planning commission document of the gas station.
You could go ahead and mute it for now until.
First, I said, speaking of muting, I mute my phone.
That's all I had to say. Thank you for saying that.
Went up to look at it. I don't remember what year Chevy pickup it was, 3/4 ton.
Yes, you were here last month.
Did
she send that?
Couldn't find it. I finally did it. Auction last week. My wife had told. I was clear upon the bluff. So we drove up the street.
He didn't call.
If I like it, I loved it. Yes. Okay. That's a 15 there, so.
Yes.
Okay.
6 months now.
Yeah, whatever you don't cover, I'll cover.
I was gonna talk about our economic development.
Yeah.
and chime in, whatever I missed.
Yeah, because they got me listed as historic district, you know,
Okay.
which
Then you'll have to ask.
No, what
We just got a hold of him. He's gonna be here in about 3 minutes.
Done is gone through and given a picture.
Start this commission meeting. Let's do a roll call. Start down with you, Linda.
I'm here.
Good.
Hodgkins here.
More here. Freilinger here. Very good. All right, public comment. I'm gonna go grab that paper. And see what we've got. Got a yes next to Robert.
Yes, Chairman Moore. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have put a yes. I forgot I was already on the agenda under presentation. So I'll be doing my speaking then. Thank you very much for your attention.
All right, Rocky, we got a yes next to you.
Opportunity later.
Okay, good. Kara,
Yes, I have the same situation as Robert.
you're on the
I'm
agenda.
on the agenda, so we're good.
Good, good, good.
So I have a question. This is personal, but it's also public. My granddaughter, Kristen, would like to have an opportunity to speak. She's also a mom of she's a soccer mom.
Yeah.
And she is not gonna be able to get anywhere near here, whether it's online or whether it's here
Yeah.
until 7-ish. You know how it is when you're getting out of a soccer game and
Sure.
and then coming this direction. So,
Well, why don't,
Will there be time
she's gonna
to-
let you know.
yeah,
Was she gonna come here or be online?
well, she's not sure. You know, she's
Okay.
got 5 kids, so.
Well, we'll, for 5 kids, we'll make all kinds of accommodations.
So I didn't know whether I should put her name on there or will
Yeah.
she be able to speak later or?
3 more, she could have a basketball team.
Yeah. 3 of them think they are.
And what does she want to speak on? Do you know? Is it about the gas station?
Mhm.
Well, why don't,
Oh,
let's see. We'll have time for that.
after the,
I'm not seeing it here, old business, other adjournment.
oh, Walt's got his hand up.
Yeah, please, Walt.
You're muted.
No, if she gets here after 7 or so, I'm sure you're still going to be on the discussion with the gas station. And so,
Right.
you know, timing wise, I'm sure it'll fit.
Okay,
Yeah, that's your question is.
Yeah.
Yes.
so do I need to put her name down or?
No, when she shows up one way or the other,
Okay,
we'll move her in when we get to a good place to do that.
oh, she said she's on Zoom now.
Oh, good. Well,
Well, there you go.
now, well, we're gonna start this hearing on the continuation of this, the gas station. I wanted to hear from the commissioners first before we took any public testimony. So, that, I guess what I'm struggling with is the order of, I don't have it in front of me and I can't read the door from here. The order of the public hearing procedures. I know there's. And actually I don't on the agenda see the Downtown Association. So remind me how public comment comes into the continuance hearing.
Well, my suggestion is that you run this as if it's a new hearing, even though this is a continuation. Would start with the staff report. Applicant would provide their information, proponents, opponents, general questions. Obviously, the planning commission may question any participant, and then the applicant has a rebuttal. And then after that, you close and deliberate.
Okay, I didn't hear time. When does the public comment come in there again?
Public comment will be after staff report and the applicant. And then the comments can either be for, against, or general questions.
Staff, applicant. And we'll have
Proponents,
the questions maybe from the planning commission. And then questions from the public that's here. Is that right?
well, be sure that you have an opportunity for the proponents and opponents to speak.
Great.
Yeah.
Staff report, then the applicant, then the opponents, but doesn't the applicant get a final rebuttal?
Yeah, but after the applicant, anyone in favor should be allowed to speak. Then anyone opposed would then be allowed to speak. And before you close the public hearing, the applicant always has the right of rebuttal, cannot provide new evidence or testimony, but just can respond to questions or concerns.
Thank you. Now, I'm not seeing on the agenda the report from the Downtown Association. So they said they're on the agenda. I'm not seeing it on the agenda.
It's on the public agenda.
You want mine?
Oh, that would be nice.
Because it's
Thank you.
right here, both of these for presentations. Is yours different than mine?
Yes, no, yeah, well, yes, mine is different.
Okay.
So thank you for this. That'll.
I don't need that.
Yeah, I would like that. Can you spare that? I was gonna settle in 20 minutes early, but. Apologize again. Okay. So there's no public comment other than on the gas station. No new business, presentations, economic development, please. Who would like to?
Robert, I'll just kick it off.
Go ahead.
So we are the newly formed Economic Development Committee under the Planning Commission. And thus far, we have 5 members that comprise of Sue Richardson, Robert Davis, Kristen Regalado, myself, Kara Weber, and Jenny Morrison. So essentially, we are in the exploration stage to establish a central business district aesthetic code in downtown Yamhill. And our mission in a nutshell is to enhance city codes while aiming at historic designation and specifying design code recommendations to be included within the city codes of downtown Yamhill. So during our first meeting, which we had, let's say 2 weeks ago, does that sound right?
April,
Okay.
May 6th, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
May 6th.
May 6th.
We essentially examined various towns that would be good representative models or comps for Yamhill to take into consideration as far as their aesthetic codes go. And amongst those, and Robert, you can give a more thorough list, that would go, just for an example, Sisters, Oregon.
Can I stop you just for a second?
Sure.
I want to keep track of what they're saying, you know, month to month, week to week. I don't see you doing minutes. Do I need to, we're recording
It's coming up on the computer. I'm watching to make sure that it's doing the right wording.
the right words?
Technology.
Yeah.
I would be loaded, Angie's doing that.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
AI's everywhere.
Thank you, please.
So we're looking at towns that are similar to ours, that we're just examining as models. For instance, Sisters, Hood River, Dayton, and a cute little town in Missouri called Laurel. So we have assigned each member of our committee with tasks of examining each town's city design codes and to be studied during our second meeting to be held on June 10th. So each member has their mission and their homework. And during our next meeting, we're going to bring our findings to the table and do a collaboration of what we believe would be good design codes to take into consideration to be added to downtown Yamhill. Robert, would you like to add anything to?
Yeah, in addition to what Kara's already said about our group, we decided on a plan of attack in the first of making a plan, and the plan is to find out by contacting Ashland, Baker City, Colbert, Colden, the Dalles, Independence, Jacksonville, McMinnville, Salem downtown, Union Main Street. These are the areas in which we're going to reach out and find out, like Kara said, about their city codes, their charters, and we're also going to dive into what their historic city charters are like. And we're going to use that information to realize what it is that they are doing so we can figure out what it is that we want to do. By that, I mean, we're basically beating the bushes for the information right now. It's probably going to take us a month, might take us two, just to get that first plan off the ground. And the plan is to find out what the look and feel of Yamhill should be. And then in addition to the look and the feel of Yamhill, we will take it, the next plan is to look for the abilities to make recommendations to the planning commission so they can make recommendations to the city council to change the codes and update them so that we get a city of businesses that fit our downtown business district model. In addition to that, and I'm now speaking as for the agenda of Yamhill Downtown Association, or yeah, okay. Anyway,
Historic district.
historic district, yes, thank you. I have been for over a year looking to get the Yamhill Downtown District a historical area and working with the National Register Benefits and Restrictions of the National Register Program of the Heritage website of the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department, which is a lot of layers. We had a meeting. We had a meeting on April 26th where two gentlemen, Robert and Jason, came out and we walked the city. We talked about the buildings. We talked about the dates of the established buildings. We talked about how things have changed, how things have remained the same. In a nutshell, they took away what our city was looking to do, and their recommendation in a lengthy letter that was sent back to Sue and myself said basically, rather than to go individually, like I submitted T&E Store for historic, which they denied because the fascia of the building has been changed and is not completely original. They did make mention that if T&E wanted to put the original fascia back on the building, they would consider it again. And I thought, okay, that's only money. But in any case, with that said, these two gentlemen said that what we should do is take the whole city as a whole and use it as an incorporation to make the central business district a historic area. And it will take months to do that. It will take the cooperation of all the businesses downtown. They will have to know that we're doing this. We will have to have their permission to do this, because if one person in the whole central business district says no, that kills the whole deal of our historic section.
It just, they don't have to accept the status.
That's
but the
correct.
district can still continue.
That is also correct.
It doesn't,
Yes,
it's not going to kill the whole thing.
it doesn't kill the whole thing, right? It just puts a chink in our armor. But in any case, I don't see that happening. I think all the businesses, especially the new business next to the coffee shop, who's already reached out to the city and myself, looking for support for a grant that they were going after, and I didn't get to it in time, and the city didn't get to it in time, so we missed the opportunity to support them. I hope they got their grant, but the grant was for them to put their building back the way it used to be and make it look like it was in the early 1900s. So with that said, and the fact that CARES organization, YDA, is has Main Street as a yeah, I was gonna say a donator, but anyway, that is another thing that the Historical Society said was a feather in our cap. So because of YDA, YNA, and the fact that we are working to make the downtown district historic, I think we're moving in the right direction. So that is kind of an offshoot to the economic development of our committee. It's just something that goes along with it at the same time. And like Kara said, we have a meeting coming up next month. We're going to take another 2 hours of meeting and get together and find out what we all found out about all the cities that we were given to find out and dig into. And anything else that I missed?
It's pretty holistic. I'll just clarify that the Oregon Main Street works with downtown associations. So that's why the YDA is the one that's registered. But it passes through all the benefits to all the ancillary organizations and property owners.
And for clarification, Main Street is a organization for mostly economic development and refurbing of the buildings. They provide funding to completely, for instance, they talked about T&E having to put its fascia back and making it look like it was in the 1900s. Main Street, with a grant, would fund that. And it would be no money out of pocket for T&E. The additional benefits to being a historic area or a historic district Sue knows very well. She's got 2 buildings under her that are historic, and you want to,
Well, there's a lot of tax incentive, and that here again, the fact that there is a tax incentive and it goes for 10 years, and then you can reapply for another 10 years, and that money, but the money that is frozen for the taxes is then the owner of the building is allowed to take that tax money and do the work that needs to be done to bring it up to standards. So it's not like they're not still spending the money, but instead of paying taxes, they're putting it into the historical status of that building. So which is a real incentive for any business or home like us to go ahead and do restorations on those properties. So between it and the Main Street, there's a lot of, and then we're really wanting to be able to explore as a town the grants that could facilitate help. Because there's a lot of them that are available if we had somebody that would help us be able to write grants, which none of us.
Just add a little bit of clarification to the Oregon Main Street process. It does involve a tremendous amount of organization from the downtown association, the property owners, and the municipality. They do provide grants. They are very competitive, but the more organized that we are, then the higher our probability becomes. And they don't just give you the money up front, they reimburse it. That it's passed through the downtown associations to the property owners. However, between the city and the downtown association making good pathways from our local banking institutions, we can help come alongside of property owners to provide the funding up front that they would in turn be reimbursed over time. And we then thusly have to create committees to regulate the money and the projects. So it is a tremendous undertaking. And they are very competitive, but if we were organized and well-intentioned, then the possibilities are really quite phenomenal.
Right, but whereas the tax,
That's a different thing.
yes,
That's different.
that's, and there is paperwork that you have to submit to show that you're funneling the money that would have been used for the taxes into the property in the restoration process.
And I don't
So-
believe that leaves the downtown association. They don't need to be involved in that. That's just between the property
No,
owner.
but that is a definite incentive to the property owner.
Oh, for sure. That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
so in addition to all that, we reached out to Walt Wendelowski and brought him on board with some of the possibility of code changes and updates to that. And so Walt's on board, as far as I know, with what we're doing for right now, at least in our limited capacity. That's about it. And I know that's a lot.
That's great. I'm delighted with what they're doing there, huh? So this is just what we thought, how good it can be. So this is a great start. Thank you. All right. The meeting minutes. Anybody got anything to say about the meeting minutes? Anybody want to make a motion to approve them? Having heard none, I make them myself. Come on, guys, we gotta get these minutes approved, whether you read them or not.
I move to approve the minutes.
Oh, good for you. A second?
I'll second it.
Good. It's dangerous territory we're in. All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? All right. Continuation of public hearing. So let's go through that order that Walt gave me. We're gonna have the staff report, hear from the applicant. We'll hear from those in favor. Public people in favor, hear from those opposed, then we'll have to hear from the applicant, and then we'll deliberate. All right, well, Walt, please.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Very nice day in the valley for a change. This is the continuation for the planning file DR 2301. I think we are aware where the property is located. It is zoned commercial, also located within the central business district. As you are aware, we had a meeting on this last April or April 13th. You voted to continue. The applicant agreed to toll the clock. And here we are at the May meeting where we're looking at the continuation. Now, for the original application, the proposal is for a 5,000 square foot store located on the northeast corner. There is going to be exterior finish of brick and split face concrete. Building was about 20 feet in height, 24 feet at the highest. There is a total of 9 parking spaces provided on the west side of the property. There's going to be 4 gas pump islands located between the building and the south property line. 2 points of access, one on First Street and one on Maple Street. There was no direction whether one is an egress or ingress, but in both cases, I think the access points are suitable for both. There's a landscape area in the northwest corner of the site, and the original layout it appeared to be a walk-up window for food service. We did request the applicant provide additional information that was submitted on May 5, and I'd just like to review the additional information that was provided. The site plan had a little bit greater detail. There's now an electrical charging station next to the parking space adjacent to West First. The underground tanks were identified. They run north and south, and they're located on the west side of the site between the building and the parking spaces. Bike racks were identified located within the sidewalk along Maple Street. Now, with regard to the building itself, it still faces the pumps and the parking, still faces the south property line and the pumps. However, the entrance was revised a little bit more centered on the building. The sign proposal is similar to the original proposal. There is also a request to have a digital wall display for gasoline prices. However, the particular location, the sign was not identified. In addition to these plans, the applicant responded to an email requesting additional information with regard to operations. Just to clarify, Maple Street will not provide a walk-up food service, so that was crossed off. The applicant noted deliveries would likely occur at night and not during business hours. The applicant responded that information on fuel trucks were placed on the site plan. I note that there was no information on turning radiuses, although driveway widths were provided, on whether or not the trucks can enter and exit the site without, say, backing into a public street. For the record again, these uses, the convenience store as well as the gasoline station, are allowed within the C3 zone and also within the central business district as well. The ODOT and Public Works previously provided comments. Those still remain as part of the record. Now, this is a continuation, but there's a lot of moving parts in this particular application. I'm going to basically highlight the areas that will probably need some further discussion, but I will review the context of the entire proposal. So let's begin with the C3 zone.
Well,
Just
excuse me.
simply, yes.
Correct me in my memory, I'm looking at a staff report dated March 28th.
I did hand in a new report that was dated May 10.
Yeah, do we have a copy of that? Now, this, I see a letter from Melissa, I see the sign. I don't see that here. I saw it in an email. I have it on my phone. You don't have a paper copy of that, May 10th?
I don't, I can look and see it.
Okay, the phone might be doable for me.
Hmm.
Sorry to stop you. Well,
You want to use mine?
yeah, I want to get updated. You printed yours out from the email you got at home? Is that how you got that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well. We can share, all right?
Yeah, I did.
All right, so now, Walt, you're going to go through this May 10th staff report, is that right?
Yes, that's what I'm working on right now.
Thank you.
Okay, there's a number of issues to look at with regard to the C3 zone. I think the one that stood out was it is a gas station. I did note earlier that DEQ will handle all those issues with regard to gas stations and fumes, et cetera. I did make a recommendation that if approved, that the applicant submit a lighting plan that shows how lighting will remain on the property and not migrate to adjacent properties. Again, this is a retail operation that is permitted in the zone. There is no associated manufacturing with this particular project, which is allowed within the zone. One of the issues we need to look at was parking. I noted that the applicant has 9 parking spaces where the code would require 15. I also know that this is an unusual situation. People drive to the convenience store to use the store. People also drive to the gas station portion just to fill up with for fuel, but people also drive there to fuel and go into the convenience store. We don't have a particular, if you will, standard for this type of operation. I thought between the proposed parking areas and also the fact that there would be parking adjacent to the pumps, that 17 spaces would be acceptable. Again, however, this is a matter of interpretation, and this is something that the Planning Commission will have to consider in their deliberations. So there's no hard and fast recommendation here. It's just something you're going to have to consider. Something similar with loading. This would require 2 loading spaces, 12 feet wide, 30 feet long, and 14 feet high. My experience is that generally this level of loading is probably not required for this type of operation. The applicant also noted deliveries would be in the evening. And I simply made a note that, again, the Planning Commission can determine that those number of spaces would not be required. And so you do have some flexibility there. Again, this will be a matter of your interpretation of the code. With regard to your basic standards on dimensions, lot area, width, building height, setbacks, etc., the proposed site plan conforms with those standards within the zone. We also have bicycle parking requirements. The applicant noted there were 2 spaces along Maple Street located on the sidewalk. All the bicycle parking has to be on the property. Again, I don't consider this an immediate issue. The plan can be revised or parking provided elsewhere on the site. And if approved, the applicant would have to show that information. While the applicant intends to put a fence along the west and south property lines, they are not required in this case. Whatever fence is put up must conform to our code requirements. The building is located right on the corner of First and Maple and does not comply with our clear vision standards. However, I will go over that in a little bit more detail when I look at the central business district requirements. Same thing with the sign regulations. They are unique to the central business district. Otherwise, particular requirements that might apply for commercial uses next to residential uses do not apply in this case. And finally, I do want to emphasize the applicant stated there will be no walk-up window service on Maple. Now, with regard to the central business district, again, service stations, convenience stores are allowed within the zone. What changes in the central business district, though, are the design requirements, which are stepped up quite a few notches. The first thing to look at here is landscaping. All areas that are not approved upon will need to be landscaped. Applicant has a landscaping area in the northwest corner of the property. There are no minimum or maximum setbacks within the zone. Maximum setback is 20 feet. A 0-foot setback is acceptable. This would apply to the building. However, as previously reviewed, even though it does meet the setback for the central business district, it does violate the clear vision area. The building height is, again, I discussed that. Also, this building is, they have to show that it's relatively within 25% of other commercial buildings in the area. The applicant provided that information the first go around, and it definitely meets with that requirement. With regard to orientation, the building must either face the public street or the entrance can face the public street or run perpendicular to the street. Again, as noted, the entrance is off the south side of the building, basically facing the pumps. And this is based on this provision, perfectly acceptable for the general central business district requirements. With regard to the facade, I did discuss brick, split face concrete. These things are certainly acceptable here. Now, the design requirements, though, step up a bit because this site is located along Maple Street. And the setbacks from the street side must be 0. The building height has to be within 10% of the average heights of building within the areas, but also the building design must be similar in character and designed with existing structures. So definitely the building complies with the 0-foot setback. And also they provide some information on the first application that showed that they're within generally 10% of the other buildings within the vicinity. The issue, though, becomes the front elevation plans show these buildings have an entrance onto Maple Street and also window treatment facing onto Maple Street. This is in contrast to the proposed building, which effectively has a blank wall along Maple Street. And the entrance is, again, away from the street. Again, this is in stark contrast to the existing structures. Now, with regard to signs, the information provided shows that they're allowed up to 100 square feet in signage. What I could gather here, that they have about 72 square feet in signage. That can also be determined through the building or sign permit process, certainly verified. They did add a wrinkle to their signage by including a digital sign that is about 14 square feet in area, and that increases the total sign area to 86 square feet. Now, there are some issues with regard to this sign, which I'll get to shortly. We have a provision for electronic message center signs. And I'll just read the requirement here. By code, an electronic message center sign is one that displays words, symbols, figures, or images that can be electronically or mechanically changed by remote or automatic means. The sign in this case that they're proposing is limited to pricing information and this was a little difficult on my part, may fall out of the intent and purpose of these requirements. However, I think if you look at this, we are looking at, it's displaying figures, it's displaying numbers that have gasoline prices, and it's certainly electronic and it can be controlled electronically. If that is the case as an EMC, then the maximum square footage for this sign is 24 feet. However, EMCs are calculated at a rate of 2 times the square footage. So this sign would come in at 28 square feet and needs to be reduced in size. Also bear in mind when it comes to EMCs in the central business district, they are required to get conditional use and variance approvals of sign variance approval to establish them. Finally, any signs along Maple obviously have to be approved by ODOT. Now, some summary comments here. For the most part, the application seems to be consistent with the requirements of the C3 zone. However, there are some interpretations that need to be considered. And this made it a little bit difficult for staff to come up with a, clean, clear-cut recommendation. One is not only interpretations, but you have some subjective design criteria with regard to the central business district, especially along Maple Street. So before you make a decision, you are going to have to consider the following. Again, in review, the first item is parking. 15 spaces are required, 9 are provided, and I'm making a sort of a judgment here that possibly the spaces next to the gasoline pumps can be considered another space. So they would have an opportunity for 17 parking spaces. Again, I think this is a unique situation, and the Planning Commission may want to consider that, given the duality. And you could park there to pick up a 6-pack of soda, or you could park next to the pump to fill up with gas, and then go into the convenience store to buy your groceries. In a similar vein, we're looking at loading. Loading, they are required 2 very large spaces. Normally, businesses of this type have smaller vehicles. The applicants stated that deliveries would not be during business hours, and it's really unusual to see such large loading areas for this type of a business. Again, this is something the Planning Commission can consider during their deliberations. However, I will also note that the layout that was submitted did not address the matter of turning movements for the fuel trucks. Of particular concern by the commission at the last meeting was whether these vehicles would require backing maneuvers onto a public street. Now, the applicant did note that the fuel distributor could use the site, but I know the commission did request something a little bit more technical with regard to assuring that that would occur. Now,
Excuse me, Walt,
yes,
remind me how that came back from the applicant, that the fuel delivery service said that they could use the site. That was
at the previous meeting where they publicly testified that.
The applicant testified that they had spoken to the gas delivery company.
Right.
And the company said, we can do it.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, now setbacks and clear vision, that's the other thing. The building does comply with the setback requirements, especially since 0 feet is required along Maple, but that's in clear violation of our clear vision standards. So this is, which way do you go on this one? Please note that within the downtown, placement of structures along the property line, including corner lots, is common in practice. The commercial structures along Maple follow that pattern, including the 4 buildings located on corner lots. In fact, you can see through aerial photos that, or just walk downtown, and you can see that's the case. Also, adjacent sidewalks do provide some leeway when it comes to an intersection. But again, the planning commission needs to consider whether or not it's suitable to grant some flexibility with this regard. The next issue is the EMC sign. Again, this was a little tough one for me because I think the intent and purpose of the regulations had more to do with message signs that there's movement or changes. However, technically, this appears to qualify. And if that's the case, the applicant will need to get conditional use and sign variance approval to install said sign.
And it will have to be smaller than they applied. for.
Right, exactly. So they can go over no more than 12 square feet in area. Because again, it is calculated at a ratio of 2 to 1.
No more than 12, and they're at 14 right now.
That is correct.
Great.
Okay, finally, the design and facade. Again, they did revamp it a bit. The entrance is a little bit more centered on the building. And that's perfectly acceptable for the central business district. The issue is, though, that's not clearly the case when it comes to the issue is really development along Maple Street, which has a higher standard. Again, the proposal would be effectively a blank brick wall adjacent to Maple, not much in the way of windows or treatment to kind of separate that. And that questions whether or not that is similar in character and design to the existing structures on Main Street, which generally have not only their entrances, but also significant window treatment along the way that you can see inside the building. Now, interpretations on parking and loading is something that you can do as an interpretation. There is no formal process. We do not have a set of criteria that needs to be addressed. However, when it comes to modification of the design requirements, it's subject to provisions in section 10.46.070. This states that the commission may allow modifications to the site design requirements in the central business district. And again, remember, these standards apply to Maple Street that we're looking at modifying when both of the following apply. Item 1, modification is necessary to provide design flexibility where 1, conditions unique to the site require the modification. 2, parcel shape or configuration precludes compliance. And 3, a modification is necessary to preserve trees, other natural features, or visual amenities determined by the planning commission. The second part of it is modification standards in this chapter shall only be approved if the planning commission finds the specific design proposal is in substantial compliance with the intent and purpose of the central business district. And again, I'd even go one step further, not only the central business district, but the limitations and design requirements for buildings along Maple Street. Regarding the first of these two.
Well, I didn't understand that one step further. I understood the substantial compliance with the intent. And then what was that next sentence?
Well, after that says, shall only be approved, finds that the specific design is substantially in compliance with the intent and purpose of the central business district design provisions.
And then you said, and I'll go one further.
Yes, and I will go one further. We're not just looking at the central business district. We're looking at the central business district with the higher standards required for buildings along Maple Street. So I want to make sure you understand that. Anywhere else in the central business district, this location would probably be acceptable in terms of where the building is located and the fact you can walk in off the street and it faces the palms, etc. But along Maple, it's very clear that the entrances should be facing Maple Street. So I'm just saying is that if this is being modified to any degree, you need to understand the standard that is being changed here.
Would you clarify for me the difference between the facade requirements on a building that is in the central business district but not on Maple and ones that are on Maple? What's the difference?
Okay, you have a little bit more leeway. Well, for example, you can have a greater setback. You can go up to 20 feet. Entrance to the building can be perpendicular to the street like this building. As long as parking is not between the building and the street, you're fine. So you got a lot more flexibility. When it comes to Maple Street, this is your primary, but also prime downtown area. And the expectation is that there be, as they said here, let me see, where is it? When it comes to Maple Street, let me just grab that section. Yeah, it talks about that the buildings must be consistent in character with the existing structures on Maple Street. And so this is where you have that higher standard. And so if you look at existing buildings on Maple Street, it's basically facing the street. Entrance to the building is off of Maple, and there's some window treatment or some architectural features that are attractive to someone driving through town or walking downtown that face Maple Street. And that's really the difference. You have Central Business District has a higher standard than anywhere else in the C3 zone, but Maple Street has further refinements and further requirements.
Thank you.
Okay, no, that's a good question. That's why I want to make sure you understand it's not just the regular stuff, it's also these heightened requirements. So with regard to A, I did look through, looking at the site, could not find any unique circumstances, trees, natural features, or visual amenities that require preservation. The only circumstance may be the shape of the property, but even then, it's like, not every parcel is suitable for a particular use. And I would always hesitate to say, no, you don't want to cram in something that really shouldn't be there. But again, the use may be inappropriate for the size and location of the parcel.
Would you say that, back up and say that again, Will?
Okay.
The use may be inappropriate for the size of the parcel.
Right, I'm just saying that, for example, that's one reason that we have lot coverage requirements. You don't want to cram a 4,000 square foot home on a 5,000 square foot lot. You want to have some open space. Same thing when it comes to commercial development. There is some proportionality, especially when it comes to auto dependent uses. This is auto dependent. And so you've got to look at whether or not the land is suitably large enough to accommodate traffic and truck movement, et cetera. So it's just a different way of looking at it, that just because the site is available doesn't mean it can be built for everything that's allowed in the C3 zone. That may be a better way of looking at it. Just because the zone allows it doesn't mean that it should be there. That's all.
Well, how would a plan commission rule on those grounds? What words would they use?
Actually, it's not as critical as, remember, you could look at the site if you want to, but there's two parts. There are two separate criterion. And the first one had to do, is there something unusual about the property? And overall, I'd say no. The second one had to do with, it states that the specific design proposed will be substantially in compliance with the intent and purpose of the central business district. And that's where I think the crux of the matter is.
I got that,
Okay.
but it seems like we had moved on a bit to, is the site appropriately sized for the use? And
Okay.
That seemed to come out of your mouth, not out of the code, I guess.
Okay, this was my, and this is right in the staff report. I'll just repeat. The only potential circumstance may be the shape, size, or location of the lot.
Shape.
That's the only thing I think of. I think this gets into dangerous territory, and this is my commentary.
Yeah.
The use may be appropriate for the applicant's goals, but inappropriate for the size and location of the parcel. That's why I'm sort of raising that issue, that just because something is allowed in the zone doesn't mean the site is suitable for that use. That's all.
Inappropriate in the determination of the planning commission.
That could very well be the case. I'm just providing sort of a general look at the whole idea. That's all. It just, okay. So again, the only one that really jumps in my mind is like a 4,000 square foot house on a 5,000 square foot lot. It's kind of inappropriate to the availability for open space, yard areas, etc. You look at other commercial types of development, you would want a little bit more places for cars to park, maneuverability and stuff like that. You got to look at that, whether or not that really is a factor here. I'm just kind of raising the issue in more of a, if you will, academic sense. It's like something to consider. If it fits, it fits, and they can certainly utilize the site. I'm just saying that I could not find anything with the size, the shape of the parcel that would make it difficult that they could not comply with the standards. And that's the key, that there's nothing on the size of this parcel that prohibits them from complying with the standards.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. In fact, those are very good questions, and that did help clarify my point. The final thing is regarding the other item, judging design is subjective, and I know that, and everyone knows that. Staff previously know the effective blank wall of the convenience store building in comparison to other commercial buildings fronting along Maple Street. These again, main entrance off of Maple, and architectural features that make it attractive. Running the building perpendicular to the street negates what might otherwise be an attractive building entrance. Again, elsewhere in the central business district, this would not be a critical issue. Along Maple Street, it is a critical issue. So at this point, recommendation, generally the layout complies with the significant number of development requirements. Building height, use, so forth, lot size, those sort of things. Unfortunately, there are areas that require interpretation, and this would include parking, loading, and if you concur with my assessment of the signage, there's also subjective design requirements that relate to the central business district, and especially the portion along Maple Street. These are subjective judgments that are really left to the commission to make, because you are the decision authority. And unless you can find for these, in other words, make the interpretations that I've laid out or suggested, I should say, or some of the design issues I've discussed, the application does not meet the requirements. However, if the commission finds that the proposal complies with the applicable criteria in supporting interpretations and judgments, and approves the application, staff did provide recommended conditions for this project. And with that, thank you for your patience, and that ends the staff report, and obviously available for questions.
All right, I think next we'll go to a statement from the applicant. Please go ahead. Is that Melissa? Is that our applicant, Melissa Poland? She's with us. Okay, great.
Is this her?
We're gonna wait until we get connected with you, Melissa. Don't worry. Ask to unmute. Melissa, evidently, you're muted. There we go. No? You see your hand is up.
Am I unmuted now?
There you go.
Oh, perfect. So I had just sent over the turning radius to Walt and Kimberly also. I had sent them over earlier showing the truck and the fifth wheel trailer turning. And I don't know if Walt missed this, the display on we added windows to Maple and the backside street also to the building.
I did not receive that information.
Weird. It's on my email that showed that it got sent to you.
Really, I looked through everything because I didn't want to miss anything whatsoever.
Yeah, it shows it on my email that it sent to you guys with the windows and both of the turning radiuses. Did you just can you look at your email now? I've just forwarded you it again.
Let me go ahead.
Tell them where it is, but that's it, right there, there's windows. What page is that?
Well, we're seeing something on,
Well, one of the attachments that we received, I'm seeing windows on the elevation views. It has a front elevation, rear elevation, and side elevations. It shows some windows.
And I just sent you over the other turning radiuses also on both of them. That's weird.
That is, yeah, that just kind of surprised me, but I'm still looking. I don't mean to be.
The attachment, I don't know if your files were named the same as what we received on the commission, but file A31 Rev 01 appears to show some windows.
Yes, that is along the front on facing the pumps. I'm looking at the side elevation.
Yeah, it's on the bottom of there on the side elevation. They added windows to the back and the other side of
Wow.
Maple Street.
I'm looking at it right now and I do not see any windows. I swear to you, as the person who's doing this report, I do not see.
The elevation sign page still didn't have windows on it because that was just showing the signs. It was at the next attachment below has the windows.
I don't know what to tell you. I'm not trying to be obstinate. I'm not trying to cause any problems here. This is just what I had in terms of material. And
Did you get the new turning radiuses I just sent you?
I got the turning radiuses.
Okay, let me
Okay.
send you another one with the other building.
So that is what I'm seeing, isn't it?
yeah. This is the one, like, this is Larson here. This is Larson. So this short one here is that side. That's, I think that
This
windows
is-
here now.
This is facing the fire department. Wouldn't be the-
No,
This is, yes, yes, it is, because this.
oh, yeah, it's backwards though. in that.
I
I think they have this awning back on the wrong side. I think they
Because
do.
this is looks like open
You
seat.
should. Yes, you're right, because that awning is being right there. They have the awning on the wrong side. I think they meant cookies on that side view, but this is the back, this is facing Larson.
I think.
Probably should.
Just saying to-
The information. Thank you, that on the other. Yeah.
You see that, Sue?
They've done it backwards.
Yeah, they meant to put that there. These two windows belong over here.
Yeah, yeah, I know that,
Right.
but I'm just saying it's not right the
No.
way it is.
I'm sure it's a step issue. And maybe we're gonna see some turning radiuses.
We had this stuff earlier, so you could look at it.
What do you mean what she's talking about right now? The turning
Oh,
radius?
shoot.
Any of it like this that we don't have, or this, that we didn't get till we got here tonight.
Oh, we got an email. A couple
The
days,
May
like
10th.
5 days ago, 10 days.
Yeah.
I did, and yeah, that was the May 10th. That was the staff report that came on May 10th, right?
This picture was in May 10th?
Yeah.
May 9th is when I got it.
Okay. It's in mine. It's really strange. This is what was in mine. I printed it
Oh,
off.
this is nuts.
Yeah, that one was in there too.
Yeah, this is what I had in there. Yeah,
That's the older one.
this is what I just,
Last week.
no, this week. Yeah.
Got it right here. I got my email. I don't know.
Because I printed off the whole package.
We agree that the intent is these two windows on this end. Yeah, okay, so that's probably what we're gonna be.
Okay, I did locate the email. And there was no window treatment on Maple Street. But I do agree with the applicant. I may have simply failed in sending the wrong layout. But there is some window treatment on First, and there's also some window treatment on
The west.
yeah, the west facing the
We're
fire.
thinking that's a
station.
mistake. Well, we're thinking that's a mistake, that the windows they mistakenly put on the west belong on the east.
Well, that might be the case. So I'm half right and half wrong. They do have window treatments that they're proposing along First. I just don't see anything with regard to Maple Street. And I'm not sure what to say with that. I'm very embarrassed with this. Storefront assembly. Okay, I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure what happened. I'll take responsibility.
Well, I don't see I just see you got what they sent with windows on the west and you're seeing no windows on the east.
Right, and
Would have
but
been up to you to call them back and say, hey, did you mean to do it this other way? I don't know if that's your job. So I would be
No.
embarrassed.
no, this is no. I am embarrassed because I think I screwed up on this one. I'm still right when it comes to Maple Street. I did not include the notion that there were windows provided on the other two sides along with the entrance. So that is the case. And again, my apologies to the applicant. When I pulled it together, I'm not sure what occurred. But I'll accept responsibility for dropping the ball on that one. And yes, you did send that and it came in on May 2.
It's like for me, the pumps over here.
So my apologies, Melissa. I'm very sorry about that. I will still hold with the Maple Street issue, but with regard to the other sides, you do obviously have some window treatment along First and also along the west side, so we'll drop it right there.
All right, we're interested in moving on to the turning radius information. Walt, is that something you could put on the screen? Have you received that?
I do have it. I'm not sure I could comment on it because it's just open here. If I send it to Angela, could she put it on the screen?
You can screen share. She knows how to do that.
No, you can't when you're recording, okay.
She just said that.
Yeah.
You can't record.
Yeah, you just said it on the screen.
My Outlook's not connected to this laptop,
Okay.
unfortunately.
Well, I guess Melissa should finish her presentation anyway.
See if I can get to it. There's a TV on here. It's not that one on here.
Well, I guess what we'll do, Walt, is continue on with the applicant's presentation.
Mm-hmm.
See how big a hole this turning radius leaves and see if we need to fill it somehow tonight or another time. But let's not bring this to a halt until that
I
may
concur.
or may not bring it to a halt.
I concur.
Okay, please continue, Melissa.
So we're just excited about getting everything, located where you guys are wanting it to make your town a better place and a lot more, groceries and gas options for all of your residents in downtown Yamhill.
Okay, is that all you have for us?
Yes.
Great. Any questions of the applicant? From the planning commission? Right now?
I guess one of my questions is, so that the elevation views that we have, were the windows on the west side intended to go on the east?
Yes, they were. They were supposed to go on Maple Street.
Okay.
We're gonna get there. Oh, do you see what she just talked about? That, and you got that, Lyndon, on yours, where those windows were on the wrong.
We're talking these?
Yeah, we're talking these guys. This is the west side facing away from Maple. She meant to have these right here, because this is Maple up, this is the Maple side. All right, just so that was intended for us to see. Okay, thanks.
I don't know if this question is appropriate, but was any consideration given to putting the building on the south side of the lot?
Our first one that we were gonna have it on the back of the lot with the gas station out front. And that didn't comply with the codes.
On the west side? But so
Yes.
no thought was given to the south side of it?
There was some thought, maybe.
Yeah.
And when Walt suggested it, he brought it up, he said, if we slide that down, then the driveway into the whole complex is very close to the corner.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
kind of shoved it
Too
too close for
Mhm.
right next to an intersection. So, yeah, that was why they didn't go with that.
Okay, that makes sense.
The other thing too, you cannot have a parking spaces between a street and the building.
Say that again.
You cannot have parking spaces between the street and the building. The building has to be up front.
So if you'd slid it south, there'd be parking places along First Street.
Could very well be.
There'd be parking places between the street and the building if you had slid the building south.
Look at it this way, when you have your main entrance to the building, there can be no parking in front of that entrance. The idea is to go to any larger city that has a strip commercial, and you always see the commercial buildings in the back of the lot and all the parking up front. That is for auto-dependent type of commercial uses, you know, big box store, whatever. When it comes to a downtown, you want to avoid that look. And one of the design features is to keep the building forward to the street and avoid having vehicles parked in front. They can park in the back, they can park off to the side, but you want to maintain that, if you will, sort of downtown look by not placing parking in front of the building entrance. Between the street and the building entrance.
I think the discussion about turning radiuses will go to our deliberation. We're gonna
Yeah,
hear testimony about it, and then you can bring up what you have. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we're at now is speakers, public comment in favor. Anybody wanting to speak in favor of the application? Rocky.
I'm in favor of a concept. That's why I need to address this issue right now. And my first question goes to our city planner. And Mr. Planner, the question that I have, which I believe is really important to the whole concept here, deals with whether or not Yam Hill Fire and Rescue has received a complete development plan, and also the Oregon State Fire Marshal's Office, because this plan would be reviewed by the fire and life safety specialists. And that review and everything or anything that they find becomes part of the required criteria that needs to be met by the code. And so our planning commissioners do not have that expertise, and they are dependent upon, just this is an example, they are dependent upon these specialists to help them determine and decide whether or not whatever decision that they may make would not be negative to fire and life safety. So the question is, has that information been sent, and has it been reviewed, and it should have come back to you in order for all of the municipal code and any other codes that are pooled together to determine that the footprint and all of the features and facilities meet all of the codes.
First of all, every application that comes in, it is distributed to the agencies. The only comments I ever received were from ODOT and from the Department of Public Works with regard to facilities. With regard to the fire marshal and anyone involved in fire life safety, it has been my experience with several years working in a larger community that they do not enter into the scene until after the approval is made and building permits are submitted. This has a lot to do with what's going on, not only on the site, but also inside the building. And that is when the review occurs. I'm not too sure what relationship Yam Hill has with the fire district. It's been my experience in other jurisdictions, building plans are not, do not leave the city until the local fire marshal or fire official looks at it. Also, the state fire marshal's office generally gets in only on the much bigger projects, but also the local fire authority also has the option of contacting the fire marshals office if they need additional backup. So at this juncture, no, we do not have any further comments from anyone concerning the fire department. If you will note that if this is approved, I followed your suggestion, noting that not only do they have to meet all the requirements of the decision and the code, but they also have to meet the requirements of the fire marshal and the fire district as it applies to the development. So that's when they step in. It seems somewhat backwards, but that has been my experience. And again, notice of this request was sent out to affected agencies.
Can I say something? Last meeting, I called and talked to Trampus,
Yes.
and he said he had just received that the morning of our last meeting.
He had just received
He
it?
just received it, and he said that he would be making an evaluation of it. I called again today and said, are you going to be there? I got no answer. But I expected it. I didn't know that it would happen after the fact. For my part, I'm really not understanding why, because my experience was that about 30 years ago, we had a preschool on my property. We had to cut down trees, we had to widen the driveway. All of it had to be done previous to approval of this preschool by our local fire department. So I was under the impression that they would be involved at this point. So that's why I was calling Trampus to say, hey, where are we? So
You called our local fire chief.
Trampus, yes.
And basically in the same timeline, I spoke with the fire chief who responded and said, I haven't received any development information.
Okay.
All right, any other, anybody else want to speak in favor? All right, Rocky.
Well, after last month's public hearing, I thought I understood that there were maybe 5 or 6 items that this planning commission was concerned about. And they were rendering questions and in preparation for then this meeting that the answers would come in. And I didn't hear any reference to the 5 or 6 items and then identifying what the remedy, the solution, or the answer to the question was. And I'm still waiting for that because I believe it's important for all the questions to be answered in order for the planning commission to be able to be to do a valuable concern, and for the developer for fairness and for them to be able to proceed as well.
Anybody want to speak in opposition? Please.
Patty Perrin, you need the address too?
Sure.
215 North Maple Street. So at last month's meeting, I had a concern, which was the same as Sue's, which was the access as far as the being able to turn to go around the pumps because it's 16 feet wide. If there is a truck and trailer, truck and motor home, whatever or a truck and a motorhome type trailer behind it, whatever, a motor home with a car behind it, and they're at the pump, there's going to be a small amount of space because the vehicles are not going to be sitting right smack in the middle of the pump. They're going to be standing behind it. There's not going to be a whole lot of room for another truck and trailer, a truck with a horse trailer behind it, whatever you want to call them, to go in past there and go into another pump. Not only that, the question wasn't answered as far as the end pump on Maple. It's 20 feet from the pump to the curb or whatever is going to be there. if a vehicle is sitting in that end pump, unless they are right on top of the pump itself, there is not a vehicle that's gonna be able to get around it. They're gonna have 10 or 11 feet maybe to squeeze around that vehicle and get out onto Maple. So that issue still hasn't been addressed. And then it was addressed that deliveries would be at night. And I don't mean to sound sarcastic, but I don't know what kind of, relationship she has with all the delivery companies, whether it be, Fran's or whoever the case may be, delivering bread or snacks or whatever. A store is not going to be able to dictate, I want my deliveries between 11 o'clock at night and 2 o'clock in the morning. It's just not gonna happen. They don't do it that way. So Yamhill is gonna be somewhere between Hillsborough, Forest Grove, and Mac. So I'm not sure how she can be specific and dictate that all the deliveries will be done at night, because I can guarantee they're not gonna be. And I've said this before, I'm up at 3:30 in the morning, and that's one thing you never see on Maple. And that's delivery trucks, that kind of thing. You don't see UPS, you don't see FedEx, you see log trucks, tanker trucks, all of that kind of thing, but never store delivery trucks. You don't even see Walmart at that time of morning. So I have an issue with those things.
Patty, let me clarify, when you said, when there's a car parked at like the pump closest to Maple,
Right?
your concern was a car then going between that car parked at the pump and the building?
No. I'm concerned about, so all the pumps, if people all come in and face the same direction.
Right.
So the pump that's on Maple there is, and I want to say 20 feet from the pump to whatever is on Maple there, whether they put a curb there, shrubs, sidewalk, whatever the
To the
case may be.
sidewalk, right.
Unless a vehicle is right up on the pump itself, when they pull in there to get service, there's only going to be 10 to 12 feet for another vehicle to come around the backside to get out of there.
Would you come up and point it, and just draw a little picture for me on this? So you've got a car
Okay.
parked, go ahead, you can draw this.
So where's Maple?
Here's Maple here.
Okay, so you have a car coming out to want to go this way.
Now, I don't think you can't drive between the pumps, can you?
Well,
I don't
why
know,
wouldn't
isn't
you
there-
be able to?
Isn't that just a big island? There, or maybe there's space, but
I don't know.
I don't,
But I'm looking at, this is not what my picture looked like. My picture
This is
was.
new.
Okay, because my picture was the pumps were going in this
right,
direction.
this is new since the new application.
Okay, so what, pumps on both sides?
Yeah, there's gas, I would guess there's a
Okay.
gas pump here, and there'd be
Well,
cars
this
here.
is even
Worse. Well, then,
it is.
draw it out for me.
Well, it's even worse because where's the entrance is right here?
That's right,
Okay, so somebody's coming in this way,
right,
truck and trailer on here. They're gonna be sticking out because this is
20 feet,
20 feet.
right,
So they're gonna be back here somewhere.
okay.
So this is horrendous.
We'll just keep talking.
Well,
So
this
they're
isn't
sticking,
even logical.
they're sticking out back here,
Yeah, so how is this person gonna be able to get out?
so.
So they're gonna go straight out, this
So
is
we-
the entrance now?
So we've got a car, and then we got a trailer on it.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that.
Yeah,
And
so
this
they
car would
widened
just-
the entrance?
This is the driveway here, right? So it seems like this car can go out right like that.
Okay, well, how come none of this was online? So, okay, so this is even worse because,
Okay,
so you have another. Oh my God. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you'd have another car waiting, you know.
Yeah,
getting-
if you've
getting
got-
serviced here. So you'd have as many as eight cars sitting here.
How are they gonna get around this corner?
So there's a-
Really?
So say there's a car here and they happen to have a trailer on the back, that
Yeah.
would, that would kind of make, we've got 28 feet here, is that, no,
24?
24, so
21 feet is the size of my trailer that's in front of my 20-foot truck. It makes it 41 feet.
So this would be dictated that they all come in
Counting
one
the time.
direction and all go out the other direction.
I think this is another driveway here. So no, people can come in here, park, people can turn this corner and go out
And
here.
what's this?
Yeah,
Is this the turning radius?
I don't know. Well, what's the dotted line, long
That's the tank.
rectangle?
That's the tank.
Well, that's the
Oh,
tank
those are
underground.
underground.
Okay, thank you. And this is the edge of the canopy. So folks may be a little crowded if there was something hanging out here.
Oh,
but
yeah.
There's still basically 2 lanes here.
Well, I
Cars
hope
here.
everybody goes in one way and goes out the other way because you got people butting up next to each other. How are they gonna get out? How are they
Well,
gonna go
So
around?
like say these 2 guys are facing each other.
Yeah,
This person would have to come out here and get out like that. They'd have to use this area here to pull out.
oh, this is worse than the last one I saw. Sorry.
Okay, do you feel like you've been heard, Patty?
No, I think this is a worse setup than the last one was. I think they're trying to put too much stuff in that small lot.
Okay,
I mean, that's my opinion.
okay. Robert, you want to speak in opposition?
No, I just want to make some comments, if you don't mind. Robert Davis, 212 North Maple Street. I'd like to ask Mr. Moore, why does the city residents not have access to the same packet the Planning Commission has tonight?
I don't have the answer to that.
That seems to be a sore subject with everybody on this side because we don't have the same information you have. We're still working on the packet that was presented to us last month.
All right. So is that something that was put online, the response to our last?
I don't have any correspondence regarding this previously. On my end, so I didn't put anything online.
So, yes, what I just. So the answer is because it wasn't posted, I guess. That's why it's not there.
The only thing that was posted was the agenda of which Patty
Right.
gave you a copy of.
Right.
That's the only thing that was posted on the website prior to this meeting tonight. Usually there's a packet, and it wasn't even posted. I kind of expected the packet from last month to be posted, and it wasn't posted. There was no packet. So my concern is we are here on this side, we are not up with the information that you're digesting tonight so that we can't speak informatively and concisely about what's going on tonight. In addition to that, I would like to ask Walt, he said in his previous statement that he would discuss the clear vision aspect of his report at the end of his report, and I never heard anything more about the clear vision aspect of the way the building is submitted and the way it blocks the vision both from First Street and Maple Street.
Well, would you give us your overview of your
Sure.
statement about clear vision? Thank you.
I did note at the end that, there is a conflict between the code that talks about a 0-foot setback along Maple and a portion of the code that talks about maintaining a clear vision. I did note that between the location, basically sidewalks do provide a little bit of buffer, so it still may be possible to see around the building. However, that goes back to my original concern, is that the clear vision is in conflict with the standards within the downtown. My other comment was that if you look along Maple Street, you will find a number of other buildings located right on the corner and also in violation of the clear vision requirements. These are obviously pre-existing, but I'm just driving home the point that it's not unusual for buildings to be located right on the corner. So not too sure what I missed, but I hope that helps out.
Yes, it does. Well, thank you, because Chairman Moore, I live at 212 North Maple Street. My house is a 2-story building. Demands a 20-foot setback from both the Azalea Street and the Maple Street side. I went to install a fence on the front corner. That would be the Azalea and the Maple corner of the street. And I was told by the city that there is a height requirement because of clear vision. The height requirement for my fence could no longer be any higher than 4 feet because of the clear vision aspect of that road. So I don't see how a 20-foot building sitting on the corner is going to allow any, even if there is a 6-foot sidewalk, that's not going to allow any kind of clear vision in my mind, but that's just me. The last question I have for Walt is, you talked about inappropriate size, shape, and location for this building. Is there, in your recommendation, Walt, is there a place where this building could actually fit on this property and work?
Wow, that's a tough one, because there's a lot of moving parts in operating a convenience store and gas station. To meet the code requirement of having a building facing, or let's say the design emphasis of having the building face Maple Street, you're stuck with putting the gas pumps behind that building, with the sole access likely, maybe not, but access a little further. Let me see, I'm thinking out loud here. Access along the south property line and then going up to the northwest corner, but the gas pumps would be, the whole thing would be turned around roughly 90 degrees. Okay, so look at it that way. Just the way the layout is, just turn it clockwise 90 degrees. And that might work. The problem is that I recognize with a convenience store, you want to limit the number of entrances to the structure, and that would necessitate an entrance at the pumps and also one on Market Street. And that might create a little bit of an issue. So that, in my mind, might be the only way this might work with meeting the requirements for kind of having that building face along Maple. But again, that's just a quick shooting off the hip here.
Yeah, thank you, Walt. I appreciate your opinion. That's it for me,
All right,
Mr.
anyone else want to speak in opposition?
I just have a question.
What's your name and where you live?
Kristen Regalado, and I live at 100 South Laurel Street. My question is about the canopy itself. Is the entire thing going to be illuminated, or is it just the sign? Because my, I guess, question I have with that is, so we have a house on Juniper Street as well, which is like another block down from here. And from our second story, I can see the fire department, the lovely fire department sign that we have back here on this gravel lot, literally illuminating the sky from, that's like 3 blocks or 4 blocks back. And so I'm just wondering, at 1 block back from this new gas station, if the entire canopy is illuminated the entire time, I mean, I'll never see the stars again. Like, it's going to illuminate the entire town.
What about that wall? What's on the canopy?
The last bit I saw was, and this harks back to the old application, was the signage would be illuminated. The one thing that I did request, though, is that they have a photometric plan of the layout to keep as the light source on the property as opposed to bleeding over on other properties. So that's about the best I can note on this one. There is nothing illegal about doing that, but I do fully understand her concern. And one of the reasons I did make a recommendation for a photometric plan.
So, well, I think the concern is perhaps the top ridge and the lower ridge will all be one continuous, strip of light all the way around in red and white.
I don't think that's the case. I have not seen that on any of the plans. That's something during rebuttal that the applicant may wish to respond to.
Okay, and we'd like to hear from her on what's on the edge of that canopy, the sides of the canopy. And I think you did specify that lighting would be pointing down and not spill off. And I think that includes not shining like the fire department shines out into the neighborhood. Okay, so Melissa will talk on that. Any other speaking in opposition?
Just a quick question. Will the lights be shut off during non-working hours?
Let's have, do we have anything specified that, or should we ask Melissa about that?
Again, I would go ahead and allow the applicant to respond to that.
Okay, so let's hope you're taking notes on what we want to hear as soon as we get back to you.
Yes.
What did you say?
She said that the operation was 5 to 10, 5 a.m. to 10 p.m.
Okay, and if the lights go out, then that's an answer.
Well, they don't up at the Shell. The lights stay on all the time at the Shell gas station.
Gotcha, that's why we're gonna have her address that. Okay, great. Any other speaking in opposition? All right, Melissa, would you, hopefully you took notes and can address those things. We'll help you remember if you don't. Well, please go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, so the store will be open from 5 to 10 and we'll shut the lights off. And we are doing the minimal amount of light on the canopy for it to shine downwards only.
Downward only, so there won't be lights on the sides.
No,
Okay,
Just the price and
the price sign.
of the station is what I'm understanding. The
okay.
insignia of
Oh.
the style of.
So there will be an insignia on the edge of the canopy that'll be lit? Is that
Yeah,
right?
for the gas price signs,
Yes,
fuel pricing.
and maybe the name of the gas station will be on the.
Yeah, and
on the
yeah,
back
the
of it.
name of the gas station, which will get shut off at nighttime.
Okay, and are those, both of those, the price sign and the logo on that east facing
Two sides.
two sides?
There'll be one on 2 sides.
Okay. Here and here.
Which sides of the canopy are those on?
It's gonna be
Yeah,
on this side, Maple Street.
the Maple
and
Street.
facing the store.
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you. Was that all we wanted her to address was the lighting and the time? And the delivery times, thank you. So Melissa, there's concern that you don't have control over when Hostess wants to pull up. They say, hey, we're driving through at noon and we can skip you or not, but we'll see, that's when we'll see you.
And Budweiser.
And Budweiser and everybody else. How do you think?
The owner schedules the deliveries and when they can schedule them on different days, so it's not taking up space.
Would you say that again?
The delivery, the owner will set up delivery times for like beer and food stuff that can't be during nighttime, like the fuel. And they'll unload. But at separate times, so they're not taking over the whole lot.
Okay.
It is, so you can prove, you can get letters from all of these delivery people proving that they're gonna come through at 10 o'clock at night rather than 10 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Or noon when Larson's having all of their lunch people and Lago.
Yes, the owner can schedule what time he wants his deliveries.
That's a joke. That's never gonna happen.
Let's be quiet.
Nighttime?
Yeah.
Could she clarify that?
Yeah, only at nighttime.
After hours?
Some of them will be during the day on the beer trucks, but they will just unload them and be out. But the owner can still schedule the times that they show up.
Okay. Great, I think we got the answer to that last time.
It is.
All right, any other speakers in opposition? All right, and the applicant has, that was a mistake. Opposition is closed. That was the applicant's rebuttal. Now we close the public hearing and we go into deliberation. All right, folks, I have a proposal. And that is that we go down the line and we've got quite a few things on the negative scale, side of the scale. We've got the turning radiuses, which are up in the air, which we really don't have final answer to.
I've got,
You're gonna talk about that.
Yeah.
When you get I'm gonna give everybody a big turn. So please, I'm glad you're gonna talk about that. We can take a look at the map and see that it is tight, but we're not. You have some
this is
definitive
from the American
information.
Association of Federal Highway and
Great.
Transportation.
We've got the parking, which requires 15, but there's 9 and it's not in compliance, but we could squint our eyes, whatever, and say, yeah, it does comply. We've got loading. There is no loading space and one's required. And 2 are required. 2, thank you, 2 are required. Now, I just heard her say that sometimes they will be deliveries in the day. So that it's not all going to be at night. The clear vision is a problem.
There's also off-street parking.
Off-street parking.
Yeah.
That's the 15 places required.
No, off-street,
What is off? What do you mean by off?
off-street,
You mean on the side?
off the. Shall require, all new developments shall require off-street parking, which shall be provided in accordance with chapter 1052. Off-street parking and loading include special provisions for development within the CBD. So I'm not sure how much that is, but I know it's required.
This is off-street parking.
No, that's on their property.
That's what off-street means. It's not on the public street. It's off the public street, so it's on the property. But I think that's included in this
Okay,
15
all right.
places. Okay,
All right.
great. So we've got that. We've got the loading issue, which it sounds like there will be some daytime deliveries. It won't all be at night. The clear vision. I'm just stacking you up so you know the issues that you want to speak to and what, how you feel about these main issues. The clear vision, yes, there are buildings on the other corners, but if you think about T&E for a minute and then compare it to this drawing here, T&E has a big bump out and parking spaces. I think they're even parallel parking, at nose-in parking. So there's a lot more room from when you're at the stop sign to the edge of that building. And there's a bevel on the front of that building that used to be the bank. The other corner is, that building is off the street because there's parking in front of it. So this, if you look here, this is and someone's parked right here. And the stop sign is right there. Looking that way is not easy. So there is an argument that, hey, there's already buildings on corners, but this is different. This is worse in my observation. And then the next thing is the sign is not in compliance. They could reduce that. Now the building design, substantial compliance with the intent. And that is, you can vote how you want on that. Is it consistent in character with what's along Maple? And they put 2 windows on the end. And you can vote whether you can talk about whether you think that's in substantial compliance and intent and consistent with character. So those are the main issues. Linda, I think we'll just go down the line, or maybe we'll start on this end for once. Did you want to talk about how you feel about this whole thing and how the balance is feeling for you?
Okay, so I was gonna comment on T&E's bump out. That's kind of, because that's the only place they can park for loading, and it's going to be blocking the lane. There's really no way around it. So that's a concern for me.
Say that again, they're gonna be parking on
Well,
this.
because, you know, T&E has the bump in here.
Right.
So loading trucks can park there, but we don't have that in this scenario.
Okay.
So I agree. That was one of my comments. I am turning, looking south when you're heading east next to T&E. I don't know how much, we all know that we have to bump out and look around all the cars that are parked in front of T&E. And you always feel like you're taking your life in your hands a little bit to get across that intersection, and I see that happening here as well. But it is a downtown area, so.
But it's also more congested because it's downtown.
True. I guess downtown areas though have that issue, but if cars can park along Maple, which that was one of my questions.
Right here.
Are cars gonna be allowed to park there?
Why don't you ask, well,
Are cars gonna be allowed to park along Maple on this scenario?
between West First and the driveway into the park
There
district?
is, there, unless Public Works comes out and specifically stripes it, there is no prohibition. Besides, it's also a state highway, so no, as far as I know, parking will continue along
Okay.
West First and Maple.
So that's gonna make it worse. So the clear vision thing concerns me. The aesthetics of the building. I confess, I didn't notice the windows until I just looked at it again just now, so I was concerned about that. As far as the tank is being further west than I thought it would be. So any loading, any filling of that tank is gonna be, you're gonna have to be off of 47, off Maple Street. And so you're not gonna have a semi sitting there loading, sticking out into the highway.
They'll be pulling right in here.
Right, now, whether or not they can make that, I'd have to see the turning.
Well, that's off of First Street.
Right, so First Street could have an issue. But the highway won't, which was, I guess, most of the traffic is on the highway.
Yeah, then my feel is this, making this corner is not gonna happen. They're gonna be back.
Yeah, I need to see this printout they're gonna
And
provide.
you're gonna talk to that.
Yeah, I think that, I find it surprising that a semi can get through there. But, and I think you can have cars at these pumps, but you're gonna be tight. I think you can get cars through there, but you're gonna be tight, and I suspect you'll
And
end up
that's if
with,
it's a car.
right,
Right.
yes, if it's anything bigger than a car. Yeah. I suspect you'll have little fender benders in there, people pulling through, because if somebody's parked here on the first island, either way, whichever direction they are, cars have to get around that. And it's gonna be tight if these are open. So that's why I asked about moving the building to the southeast corner of the lot, so like here,
Yeah.
basically
The
just
driveway
flips the whole
here.
thing. Yeah, but that makes
That's
too
too
close
close to this.
So I'm leaning against the layout as it is now.
Yeah. Okay.
We have a quick question. Just, yeah, in relation to what you're saying about how, so if you're saying the truck is gonna come down First Street to deliver the gas, correct?
Well, no, I mean, they're gonna have to be off site.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to be off the roads.
Right,
They're gonna have to pull out onto First or pull in on First.
right. So then I'm just wondering, like, so once they're like, say, they're not gonna be able to back out on 47, obviously.
me,
So then where's
Karen?
the exit route? Do they go
Yeah.
down Olive Street?
Walt, what have you got?
Is this discussion I can't see everyone. Is this discussion just with the commission or has?
Oh, we let something else leak in there because
Okay.
she smiled. I don't know.
Oh,
We
okay.
shouldn't have done that.
Okay, I'm not here to scold you, just kind of keep you on track.
I'm glad you did.
Okay,
She got a finger wag. All right, are you done?
Yes, I'm done.
All right.
Those were my concerns.
I think you heard my concerns as I went down the list already.
Okay. Well, I've got several. And the first is this, all these clearances. I'm just gonna read this to you. So this is tacked onto, this is from the American Association of Federal Highway and Transportation Officials. They've got height, width, and length. Now, every vehicle is different. You know, we know very definitely that a Ford F-250 or 350 is gonna be different than a little Subaru. You know, so there are differences, but this gives you height, width, and length of the average passenger car, single unit truck, buses. A bus would include a motorhome. Okay, so we're gonna have motorhomes. We're gonna have, then there's car and camper trailer, car and boat trailer, motorhome and boat trailer, farm tractor. The tractors, I don't know that we're gonna have a lot of that. But anyway, it's got all of the heights, widths, and lengths. I also have downloaded their turning templates required for every single one of these. And just a 20-foot car. This is showing the radiuses, whether, you know, because if you're coming in from one direction or you're going out another direction, going around a car, you're gonna have different amounts of turning radius needed. But this is the one that I think really kind of puts it into perspective. This is at the end of it. The turning radius of a vehicle is the diameter of the narrowest circle it is capable of maneuvering and is dependent on many design factors, including wheelbase length, axle width, steering mechanism design. Mid-sized cars, depending on brand, normally have a turning radius of 34 to 38 feet. Mid-sized cars, that's going to be the average. When talking about a specific vehicle, a smaller turning radius translates into a more maneuverable vehicle. The amount of maneuverability desired is determined by the expected use and qualities of the demand. Small city cars, smart cars, they have a radius as small as 23.9 feet. But a large truck used for hauling cargo can have a car radius of over 50 feet. Vehicles in the mid-range, 2015, 2016 sedans, turning radius lists such as a Chevrolet Malibu, Volkswagen CC, Toyota Avalon, Nissan Altima. These are all average vehicles that anybody would see in that station with a turning radius of 37.4 feet. Pickup trucks in the middle range with a radius of 49.2 feet and include different models and years of the Chevrolet Silverado 2500 HD and GMC Sierra 2500. Other vehicles such as luxury cars and utility vehicles turn with a different radii, and then range of values varies based on the year. So I'm just saying, and I went to 3 service stations and I measured between okay, you've got a set of pumps over here and you got a set of pumps over here. And so you put cars here and you put cars here. So this is saying that there's pumps here and here so that the vehicles would be on both sides there. There is between 20 and 24 feet minimum between the lines. And then there is a 1 foot for the person that is pumping the gas to stand in. Every single, if you look at this map, this drawing, that they're saying they have got 16 feet between pump and pump there. So there's, and the pump is 12 feet. So even if you took 16 feet and half of that 12 feet, that's going to give you 22 feet. and the average car is somewhere around 20 feet. So you're gonna be bumper to bumper with that car to the next car to be able to get them in. And that's considering that if nobody comes in on Saturday morning with their F1, F-250, like my grandson, and his boat behind it, that's gonna take up 40 or more feet to be able to pull in there. And then he's gotta come in. Even if he's on this inside, and you've got 20 foot of car, and then you've got 28.17 feet that pickup, and I know Ford pickups don't have, their steering radius is horrible. They're gonna be at the outside.
So you're talking about if there's a car here next to this pump, this car driving, will they be able to make this corner?
That's right.
Okay.
Or if you're parked in here, so, you know, say he's the one that is here,
Okay,
and he's got his pickup and his boat here.
Yeah.
He's gonna be taking up this space too,
Okay.
because of so this is not any use. But that pickup
yeah,
has not got the ability to turn a 28.17. If there's a car parked here in this area, there's no way that pickup is gonna go around that corner,
they gotta get in between this space here and this space here.
which is 28 feet.
Okay, well, what they've got to do is clear this right here, right?
Mhm,
With
that's
their,
right.
with their, so the radius, with like, we'll take the center of the car here and the center of the car will be right here, right?
Mhm.
So this would be this arc right here. And so that, if you know, not that they're gonna turn in parking, but if they're gonna get out, I'm just trying to see, that would be this turning radius. And this, to me, this distance right here looks like about, if this is 20, gosh, if this is 28 feet right here, right? Right here, I'm just gonna put it on my pencil.
Here's the.
Right, here's 28 feet on my pencil.
Mhm.
I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna say this is here, so that's to there. So let's get a different distance and see if we can see what this radius is right here. Let's get 20 feet. All right,
They've only got 24 feet here. They
Yeah.
got 28
All
here,
right.
they got 24.
I got 20 feet
here.
on my pencil. There's half of it. So this is a 40-foot radius right here. So this truck will make it here if they've got a 40-foot turning radius. And you said some F-50s have 50 foot. Did I hear you say that?
That's what it says here.
52, I think.
49.2, the medium range.
So did you see that what I was doing?
Yeah.
And that's if it's just,
I followed.
that's if it's just a pickup.
We're doing this because we're just doing this best we can. Walter, are you making sense out of the turning radius stuff that you just received that we haven't seen yet?
I'm not. You know, it does look a little tight. I'm not a traffic expert and I'm not an engineer, but it does seem to be a little tight. I would also like to make one other comment, Ken.
Yeah.
The fact that Sue did provide additional information. Really, we need to allow the applicant a chance to rebut that because this is new evidence and testimony. It's
Thank
just a
you.
matter of fairness.
Very good, very good. So this is what I did. Here's the center of that pickup. And that center of that pickup needs to be right here. So and if I just continued this circle, I wanted to see what the radius, but anyway, here's the radius right here, right? That's half the diameter. And so I just found 20 feet right here. Turns out that distance is 20 feet. Right? So I don't know why I said 50, because when you turn that, that's a 40 foot radius. Oh, I said 40 and the truck needs 50, so that truck won't get out. All right.
And then especially if there's any other car coming in the other direction.
Well, yeah, they'll have to wait till somebody pulls through there. But anyway, we're just trying to do this. We can try to figure out what this looks tight, but is it tight? She's brought us some data that makes this have it in some numbers. All right, well, should we let her respond to that now?
muted. I think that would be appropriate.
No, I'd like to show her.
Do you have anything as in with you, all the information that you have as a police chief that would give any information that would help us with this?
Not necessarily with that. I kind of reference it to, there's the Chevron over in McMinnville. If everybody's familiar with that.
The one on the
Yeah,
V,
get information from them, because I get gas there all the time, so I get a discount, and I have a big truck, and I get it out of there fine, so. Maybe correspond with them and see what they have there,
Which one?
the Chevron and
Next to
McMinnville.
Napa.
Next.
See if they have
Right.
accidents, see if they have issues. I know that they have plenty of business, because it's always.
and
full.
it's tight.
It's tight.
Yeah, and they don't have anything like a motorhome or a truck and trailer going in there.
All right, well, Melissa, what we've got here, if you could get your drawing in front of you where it shows West First Street and Maple Street, the overall site plan, looking down on it. And I'm putting west to the top of my paper.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna put we're parking a F-150 right here at the furthest west pump on the side of the pump that's closest to the building.
Mhm.
All right, and now they're gonna need to turn, if they're gonna turn to their right to get out that driveway onto West First.
First.
Yeah, that radius from my thumb pencil measurement here is 20 feet. So that's
Walt can't send you over the drawings that show the turning radius, because we have one with the fifth wheel trailer, truck and trailer turning in and out, and the fuel truck turning in and out from those with no
I
problem.
did send it to Angela.
Okay,
Unfortunately, I don't have my email on this laptop and I can't pull it up.
Hey, Walt, this is Greg. If you want to send it to me, I'll get copies made for everybody. You have my email address, Walt?
No, I do not. Go ahead.
I've sent you stuff, but it's easier, just greg.graven@cityofyandhill.org. So
Oh,
GREG.GRAVE.
Yes, I got it.
Yeah, I thought so. So if you want to send that to me, and I'll go make some copies for everybody.
So just FYI, I'm looking at the Chevron in McMinnville. And people can come in this way and out that way. I mean, you can come right, there's a full way the traffic can flow through that intersection without having to make.
And the diesel
Yeah,
pumps
the
are
egress
separate.
on both
Right.
sides.
Yeah.
But they have center pumps.
Right, they have center pumps, but there's two major roads on either side. So getting in and out, you're not making a curve around a building. You know, you're pulling in here, pulling out. So, all right, well, he gets that. I'm gonna take a break. I'll be right back.
Anybody else?
And we've got somebody parked here, and so he's gonna zip it again.
Do we need to wait for Greg to come back in? There we go. Melissa, we have the turning radius drawing in front of us now. Would you like to walk us through it?
Sure. So you can turn in pretty much from either side from Maple Street or West First Street, depending on which direction you're going to be able to turn in with the truck or trailer or the fuel truck for delivery.
Okay.
And then the fuel truck can drive in from Maple Street, pull over just over the fuel tanks, fill up, and then pull back out on West First Street.
Okay, so this is a mock-up of a fuel delivery truck, or then I see below, I see a truck and a big motor home.
Yeah, there's one of each.
Oh, okay. But what's driving through the station there is a mock-up of a fuel truck and a trailer.
Yes.
Okay. And how did you get this?
That's our civil engineer, Dan,
Okay.
through them. So they're all engineered and showing the truck radiuses.
Okay, now I just got handed the one with the motorhome. Thank you. Okay.
On the red side of the pump,
Right.
not the east side.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
We're just staring at it, Melissa. Thank you. We're just trying to take it in here.
Okay.
There's a lot of lines and just taking me a minute.
We ran over this curb trying to get in on the Maple Street side.
All they can say.
I don't even know.
It's not a drive-through.
I don't know where the gas, where the pumps are, or where the
They don't show.
dump is. But that's all on the west side. What about this side?
Where we at?
By myself.
How the hell are you gonna come up?
All right, let's bring this back to order, folks. Walt, we started talking new testimony, and we wanted to give Melissa a chance to respond. And now we're gonna resume going through the commissioners, kind of where they're at. Does that sound like the way to go? We're in
Yes.
compliance now? Okay. Thank you, Melissa. We will continue our deliberations now. All right, Sue, were you done?
Now, I'm just saying very point blank. It's not gonna work. I've driven truck, I've driven semis, I've driven truck and trailer, I've driven trucks and boats, cars and small RVs. And these are not realistic in that situation. The turning radius is never gonna work.
What's this?
Because the average person that's gonna go in there is not a professional.
Somebody.
That's mine.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get that.
That's all right.
All right, did you want to speak to other things besides that?
Yeah, well, the clear vision, definitely.
Could we have you guys maybe take it outside if you want to talk or not talk? Thank you.
I still have not, and I guess this is gonna go back to the fire marshal thing. But is there any required footage between the tanks and the pumps and the buildings? And because all of this is right up against Lago also, you know? All these vehicles are turning right into Lago. And how much, is there any space? Walt, is there any space between? I mean, is their property right on Lago's wall?
Yeah, their property goes right up to the edge there.
So when we're looking at that 16 or 26, whatever, how many feet is this? 16 feet. That's right up on Lago's wall then.
So just verify it.
Yeah, you got. I have
These are a little different. It says 26.8 feet, this one says 27. Anything else, Sue?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and I really want to say that the design thing is really important to me because the historical district has been in the process. And even though it was being done on an individual basis, and now they're telling us that we should do it as a district. I think we really need to be cognizant of the design in relationship to a historical district, downtown district, which I don't think metal and two windows on the end, if you can't access the building from Maple. I just don't think it falls in the design that we're expecting from a downtown district. And I guess I want to say that if it was one thing, you know, you'd be willing to talk about what we'd be willing to give here, you know, like the amount of parking spaces. But there is so many things to make it work that to me, it just doesn't even, it just doesn't fly. I just don't see any way that the way that it is laid out with all of the things that even that Walt has said, you're going to have to consider, we're going to have to discuss it and make a decision whether we're want to bend the rules. Do we want to bend the rules on all these things? Why did we set up rules? And you know, Greg, you can tell us, I've lived here for 48 years. How many accidents have we had at T&E on that corner this year?
One is too many, but we've had more than we should have.
Yeah.
I don't have exact figures.
This year it's been
There's been 2 in the
exponentially.
last
Yeah.
week and a half.
Yeah, 2 in the last. And so, yes, it's a setback, it's a corner, all the other things are set back.
I can tell you.
And those were built 100 years ago. We're talking about new. And if we allow something on that corner, you cannot. I watched the car in front of me as I was coming to Nate, and they were all, here's the walkway. This is a white line and this is a white line, and they were clear past that walkway with their nose out, trying to see if they could get out. Right. On the road, and that's without a building right there. Just because you can't see the cars that are parked in front of Larson house. And so if we're going to add to this, I mean, I think we need to be responsible about what we're allowing to happen in the future. It's on us. We can't do anything about 100 years ago, but we have a responsibility to do something about what's happening today.
Well, this clear vision thing, in the future, say there's a a very typical corner, just like the one we're on right now. And it's in the downtown business district overlay. And there's this requirement that the building must be all the way to the street, to Maple. There's zero setback between the building and Maple. But what about the setback between West First and the building?
You can have a maximum of a 20-foot setback,
On that side street
right, on the side street.
with no parking?
Right, you cannot have parking between the building and the street.
Okay. Thank you. Were you done, Sue? John?
Yeah, I'm just hung up on the parking and loading. We kind of beat around it enough, I think, but I don't see how that works without potentially stacking up traffic on either Maple or West First. From people trying to use the grocery store, parking there and not being able to get into the pumps. But
And when you say loading, do you mean delivery trucks or do you just mean loading
mean-
gas and groceries?
people coming to get gas, if somebody using the grocery store is blocking a pump, now somebody's sitting out in traffic waiting to turn in with their boat and they pick up and it just doesn't work.
Anything else?
Not really.
Okay, and maybe a lot of what's been said.
It's been covered.
Yeah, okay. Lyndon?
I'm just stuck on the design facing Maple Street. I don't, even with the two new windows, it's still just a brick wall with two windows in it. And the look isn't, in my opinion, what we should be looking for in a new building. And then I have the zero setback. Right down here, yeah, clear vision and the zero setback. That needs to be addressed. Not at this juncture, but later because they're fighting each other.
Well, that's why I just asked him, on the West Street, away from West with the building, a building, some future building, could be slid down away from the stop sign on,
Right.
and that would give, but you'd still be on the,
That also probably moved the building 20 feet also. And now you've taken all that room away from the pumps. Because they chose the size of building for a reason,
right.
you know, for inventory, I'm sure. I mean, it's smart business, so.
There's not room to slide the building south. No, I just to get more vision. I agree.
No. And then I have, since that turning radius is tight and whether or not the trucks can make it, I know for a fact that truck drivers will take the easiest spot to park to make their deliveries. And that's either gonna be on First Street or Maple Street. So they don't have to deal with that corner. It happens in the neighboring city where I used to work and seen it almost daily. And it doesn't matter if the zone is yellow or anything, they park on the sidewalk. And that is nothing that the business is gonna be able to control. I understand that. So now your clear vision may be even worse because you've got a truck park there too. So you can't see around the building, but if you do scoot out, then you can't see around the truck also. And they'll fight it forever over there. Because they get a new truck driver and he doesn't know, so that's the way they do it. I think the only other really big thing was the bicycle getting it off the sidewalk, getting it on their property, which should be pretty easy. And then I agree with the other things that have been discussed also, but those were my big concerns.
All right. Anybody have anything else to add that they thought of?
Yeah,
John?
looking at this parking too, if somebody does cut this corner, it's gonna put them right into a handicap parking spot. And that's who's gonna have trouble like dodging a trailer if they cut that corner, like trying to swing through.
Yeah.
So I didn't have this when I was speaking, but
You did.
I'm looking at this and just, there's no tolerance for any error.
No, none.
He's looking at the truck pulling the motorhome, the
Yeah.
fifth wheel.
You look, there's no tolerance for error. And you're talking about, you're not talking about professional truck drivers here.
No, that's amazing because people that drive RVs don't have to have a CDL. They don't have to have, I mean, they can just do it with their license. You know, it doesn't, and they don't, most of them don't have any experience, you know.
So, Walt, I'm ready to ask for a motion here. Have we dotted all the i's and crossed the t's before we do that?
I believe you've covered the bases with regard to access, parking, loading, and just the congestion on the site, but also more importantly, I think the issue of design along Maple Street. So I think you've covered the bases.
Okay, well, do I have a motion to accept or deny the application?
The Form 1 here. I think at this time, I'd like to make the motion to deny the application, however, give them more time to bring maybe a better one back. A better design. Is that okay, Walt?
Well, here's the thing, while the clock was told, the 120-day clock is ticking. Again, right now, we're 62 days into it. If you continue this hearing, it brings us into June. And I did the math somewhere, 14, 21, 35, it starts bouncing up to 100 days. And that doesn't give enough time to, in case there's an appeal, to go before the city council. So unless the applicant's willing to stop the clock again, I think the only option is to make a decision tonight and the applicant still has a chance to appeal. Conversely, regardless of what decision, there is nothing prohibiting the applicant to resubmit at a future date with a plan that would meet your satisfaction. So I just want to raise that 120-day issue with you. At this point, we have to start thinking about making a decision.
Okay, I forgot about that. Thank you. So then I guess my motion would be to deny it. Just, I guess, deny it because of what we've brought up, I guess, for lack of making a good motion. That's what I got.
So the motion is to deny, and then, and the criteria, you've heard our discussion. You could write up the criteria we denied it on, or do we need to communicate that to you now or later?
I think I have sufficient information here to prepare an order of denial. And that will go through you for your signature. So if I miss anything or there's some concerns, we can always address that. But I think the rub of it is there is concern with regard to traffic entering and exiting the site, whether or not the turning radiuses are sufficient to accommodate all the vehicles, the likelihood of congestion with delivery trucks, people parking, people using the pumps, and also recognizing that not all deliveries will be after hours, and there will be some confusion with that. And I think the other thing too is that for that reason, the parking just may not work. And also the fact that there's no loading area that could accommodate the delivery trucks. So in a sense, it all wraps up. But I think ultimately it comes down to, while there is some general concern with clear vision for safety, I think the fact that the building does not comply with the expectations of the design along Maple Street. And I can incorporate all that within the order, if that makes sense.
And I guess also just that this sign was not in compliance as well, the 12 feet versus the 14.
Probably not a critical issue because they would have to come back for a separate application for that. So yeah, you can't deny something without that application.
Okay, never mind.
Okay,
Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay, right. All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
All right, let's do a roll call vote. We'll start on the end. Lyndon?
Oh,
you
sorry.
wanna vote? Say your name and your vote.
I,
Hodgkins, aye.
Richardson, I.
So to vote aye is to vote in favor of denial. Moore, aye.
Freilinger, aye.
Commissioner comments and discussion. I'm all talked out. I think we're gonna raise his gavel unless somebody says, wait.
So next meeting. we need to-
Oh, you're the best. When's our normal meeting, Angie? If we didn't move it to accommodate some old guy.
the next meeting is June 21st. And currently we do not have any applications. However, I will coordinate with city staff and also chair to see if there are other discussion items.
I would like to propose that we ask, I'm okay with the 21st if there's no other option, but if the 22nd would work, that would be better for me. Thursday, that's the next day. I was gonna-
Unfortunately, it would not work for me. I have a scheduled meeting that night.
I was originally gonna do Tuesdays, but now there's a group in here on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, you found that out. huh?
Yeah, I saw the signs.
Oh, good for you. How about the 28th? Works for me.
There may be the water committee on the 20th of June.
Yes.
I don't have it in front of me, but there.
What about the 29th? My issue
In the
is when,
evening at 7 PM, they just switched it. The evening.
so my issue is Wednesdays.
Your Wednesday. Mine is the 21st. I'm not in town. I'm on an airplane. So the 20th is not available because there's another committee in here. We could back it up. We look at the 14th. I mean, we might not have anything from,
I will be out of town.
you'll be out of town on the 14th.
City council meeting anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Maybe you should change the day, you know, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, the day of it, instead of the.
You wanted Tuesday, but it's not available. Is there another day?
Thursdays works. Thursdays would work for me.
Thursdays? No.
I'll be gone the last part of the month anyway, but I might be able to zoom it.
Oh. Yeah, I can't Zoom on the 21st, but now what about, we're trying to switch to Thursdays because he's got a conflict on Wednesdays. So Thursday, yes, not Thursdays, the end of this month, but Thursdays in general.
I'll
John?
check my retirement
Yeah.
calendar here. Oh, yeah, I think I'm okay with that.
No, I don't have.
May I suggest that Angela maybe takes a poll of the planning commission? At some point, just sends out an email, maybe identify some dates. And then that way you can figure out again, the 1, 2, 3, third Thursday every month, I'm booked. But I mean, there's other ways that we can work around, okay?
What about like a second Thursday of the month?
I can certainly look at what dates are available in the calendar
Okay.
and reach out to everyone.
And that's the challenge. There's a lot of other
Stuff going on.
Going on. Well,
meetings going on, but then they're trying to change them also, and it's just like.
let's leave it where it is, June 21st for now. I won't be here. A, we may not have anything to consider. B, we may have found a Thursday that works going forward in the future. So, all right, so we're at the.
Is there things that we've discussed in the past besides the economic thing, which we'll have something next time on, or the Main Street thing that we should be talking about?
So do we want to have a meeting when it's, all that's on the agenda is the report from the Downtown Association and the Neighborhood Association?
Well, I'm just saying,
and the
is
historic-
there any other things that we have gone over in the last 6-8 months that we have not moved ahead doing?
Well, based on the Neighborhood Association's, the Downtown Association's recommendations to Walt on some code changes, their code changes might be coming down the pike. Well,
That's always an option. And also, I think you might want to use this meeting as a way to start to sort of springboard into looking at issues such as, what do you want the downtown to look like?
okay.
I mean, this application presented a lot of the challenges you have. And that would be probably appropriate to start thinking of that as well.
So the answer to my question is yes, we're gonna meet anyway, even if we don't have a land use thing or a application.
Yeah, I think we should.
Great.
I think we could even
Fun.
talk about potential changes. I don't know, from this, I had some ideas I'd like to find out, are these options? So like, is it an option to say, you need to have a bevel on your building, like the insurance building has, or discuss parking on Maple? And say you can't be within a certain distance of the intersection, are those things that we can
All right,
address or talk about?
let's not start that up tonight, but these are great things.
It's just ideas.
Yeah. Okay, well then, with that up in the air somewhat, we'll end. Thank you.
Here.
I need to get my map back. That's it.